Welcome to the High Vibration Reset. Today's guest, Sue Carty, is somebody I've wanted to speak to for quite a while. Sue has had an incredible career across mental health, leadership, business, and sport. And what I love about Sue is how she's brought all of these experiences together to help people perform at their best. Now, some of you may know Sue through rugby. She played, she refereed, and she led the Irish Women's Rugby Football Union through its integration with the IRFU. Today, she represents Ireland on the World Rugby Council. And last year, she also became the first woman ever elected to the World Rugby Executive Board. But this conversation isn't just about rugby. It's about leadership, resilience, high performance, and also creating opportunities for women. What it really takes to build teams, organizations, and cultures where people can perform at their best without burning themselves out. So there's so much of this conversation that applies to you, whether you work in sport, in business, in leadership. And I know you're going to take a lot from it. So let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Sue Carty. Sue, you're very welcome. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Ciara. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So can we start, Sue, with you telling us just a little bit about your story, where you started and where you have evolved into?
Oh, great. Thanks, Ciara. Well, where it all started is in the lovely County Roscommon. So I'm from a little village in Castlereagh in County Roscommon, grew up there on the farm, and I went on to do psychiatric nursing. So I qualified as a psychiatric nurse. I specialised in child and adolescent mental health, and my master's is in cognitive behavioural therapy. So that was my whole career path for about 10 years. And it was challenging and I loved it. Really, really loved it. Amazing training that absolutely has continued to make a difference for everything I'm up to. But along the way, my first job was in the psychiatric unit in St. James's Hospital in Dublin. And on a coffee break on a Monday, you know, when you have the chats on a Monday morning and you're talking about the weekend. Well, for me, it always includes the sports results from the weekend. So chatting with one of the girls, Joanne, and Joanne says to me, "Oh, you're into sport. Do you want to try rugby?" I was like, "Oh, I'll try anything. I've just moved to Dublin. Like, you know, let's give it a go." And even better still, Ciara, I went home and I told the girl I was sharing a house with at the time, Karina, I said, "Guess what I'm doing next Tuesday? You know, I'm off to try out rugby." Karina used to play in Sligo and she was looking for a club in Dublin. So the two of us went to training the following Tuesday. And I often wonder, you know, by the time Tuesday came, if Karina wasn't so excited, would have I ended up going or what? And look at whoever knows, right? But that moment just, I had no idea that was really changed the course of what I was up to in my life from there. Because of course I started playing, loved it, met the best people, got the most gorgeous welcome. It didn't matter how good, bad, otherwise. It was just a really enjoyable, warm, welcoming environment. It was great fun, got into the game, loved it, played away. And from there was another key moment. My friend Michelle, a few seasons later, I was into the game, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Sue, we need a Leinster Women's Committee. You'll set it up and you'll chair it." And I was like, "Who are you talking to, Michelle?" Like, I was much quieter at the time, Ciara. Like, I was like, I couldn't chair anything. What do you mean a committee? That sounds horrendous. Anyway,
But you said yes.
She wasn't taking no for an answer, Ciara, and she completely shocked me into saying yes. And that was the start of the rugby journey on an administration and leadership level, if you like. And look, we can talk about what opened up from there, but they were really the two key moments that moved, that moved me into the world of rugby and leadership and, everything within that.
It's interesting, as you say, those sliding door moments. If somebody had suggested squash or tennis or
Yeah,
we
could
never
have
know
been
where you're
dancing.
being.
Like it could have, exactly.
So you started that committee, yeah?
I started that committee, and that was back in 2004, 2005. And I had no idea. Like I hadn't, like when I said I hadn't a clue, I really hadn't a clue. I hadn't been on a committee before, anything like that. But what I started to discover was you start talking, you reach out to people, you get people around a table. There's always someone to ask. There's always someone to support. There's always someone to help. And we got a really great group, really great support within Leinster Rugby to get started and to get going. And then my career moved me to Limerick. So I got appointed as a clinical nurse specialist in child and adolescent mental health in Limerick. So that was like literally I'd done a year or pretty much a year in this position. So I said to my colleagues in the Leinster Women's Rugby Committee, okay, I'm moving to Limerick. So it's time for me to move on. And we had a vice chair in the committee. Breed was fantastic, ready to step up. And I thought that was me done. But of course, they put me forward for the national committee. So for the Irish Women's Rugby Football Union. So the Women's Union, people might not have been aware, was a separate union to the IRFU, the Irish Rugby Football Union at the time. And so I went on to a position there. I was vice president. That led to being president. So over a 3-year period, I was vice president for a year, president for 2. We really focused on integrating into the Irish Rugby Football Union. There really wasn't a future to continue by itself without resources and everything else. Like the future was to come in. And over that 3 years, another amazing learning experience, but we had a whole integration working group and plan, and we dissolved the Irish Women's Rugby Football Union in June 2008, became fully part of the IRFU. And it was later that year that World Rugby opened the position of Women's Development Manager. So it was the first time that World Rugby appointed somebody specifically for the women's game. And they appointed me. And I started that position. So it went from a volunteer role with my mental health work into rugby, with World Rugby becoming my full-time position in January 2009. I thought I would do it for a year, like a project, get something started, set it up, send it on its way. But it was a 7-year project, Ciara.
Wow.
It was the end of 2015. So we had gone from 4% of the global playing population for women and girls to 25%. We had key participation structures and resources in place. We had competition structures, like not everything in place, but we had key things in place at that point where really it needed then something else in terms of resource to move it to the next level. So at that point, I said, okay, what I came in to do is now done, and set it off on its way. And that was the end of 2015. So again, I thought that was me done. And I was going to matches and refereeing. So at that point I'd started refereeing and was really enjoying my refereeing journey. But after the Women's World Cup in 2017, so the IRFU hosted the Women's World Cup in 2017. And after that, there was quite a bit of, the Irish women's team just didn't perform to the level we would, expect, or they were capable of. And there was a lot of reaction to that at the time. So yeah, I contacted the IRFU and I said, look, I want to help you. Can I help you? And I found myself leading a review with them, supporting them in what they needed to do next. Then there was an opportunity for the IRFU to appoint a female representative onto World Rugby Council. So they appointed me. So that's this part of the journey. So I'm appointed onto World Rugby Council. My first meeting was in May 2018. And out of that, a couple of years later, I was elected onto the World Rugby Board. So I now sit on the World Rugby Board. There's 14 directors on the World Rugby Board. 6 of us are elected from World Rugby Council, and World Rugby Council is made up of membership from around the world, regions and unions of about 50 people. And myself and a fabulous woman, Ada, from the Philippines, were the first 2 women elected to the World Rugby Board from World Rugby Council. So that's
Phenomenal.
and it's amazing. Like it's absolutely incredible. But you could have never thought that day in St. James's would have opened this up, Ciara, right?
But Sue, it sounds like you didn't really seek out, or you didn't have these big goals that you were looking to reach. This all just happened very organically.
It was all very organic. And look, the last thing I want to put a message out there is don't have big goals, like absolutely do, right? Absolutely do. And you don't necessarily have to have it like mapped out, like this is the goal and going for it. Like once I got involved, what I can completely see is like I really wanted something bigger. Like it was, driving for something and like fulfilling on like women and girls rugby. Oh my God, the potential of this. Like I could see what was possible. And it's like, come on, let's really go for this.
Yeah.
So I didn't go after positions, or it wasn't like I'm going to do this next or that next, but that possibility for women and girls in the game and what it makes possible for the game, like that was really right there for me early on. And I did have to manage my impatience. It's like, we should be there already. Like, what are we waiting for? Come on. So yeah, I did a little bit of
passion and a mission.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
how
you're
did
right,
that-
it opened up in conversations. It seemed to open up organically. I had to stop myself from saying I'm a born accident, because it seemed to happen accidentally. But actually, that's not the truth either, and it was important for me to get that or see that.
Yeah, because you were showing up, you
Yeah.
knew what you wanted overall. You had this vision for the game, and that allowed you to accept and be open to the opportunities that came your way.
Yeah. And it opened my work business career then as well, Ciara, because I finished with World Rugby the end of 2015. And I had no idea what I would do next. Like I didn't have a plan. It was just the right time for me, for the game, for where we're at with World Rugby. Um, and it was another conversation with one of the guys in the rugby club that said, actually, I have a friend who's looking for someone to do a project. I think you'd be great. And I talked to the friend, and they wanted a project to support elevating the performance of their team. They had a small team, really close knit, doing really well. And they knew there was more in the team, but the experience was, we just don't want to flog them like horses, was actually the phrase they used, but there was something. So I put together a program. I ran a program. They loved it. I loved delivering it. And I just found myself going, oh, I could do this. And yeah, that was the start of the business 10 years ago now, Ciara. 10 years ago.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so here we are.
Tell me, how did it change from going from, being part of a women's committee, let's say, when you started off in women's, before it switched over to the IRFU? So was there a difference in the type of committee that was there, the type of members? Was it predominantly women, or were there women and men involved at all stages? Was there any difference in that step up?
That's interesting, actually. There were differences from a number of, I suppose, in a number of ways. So first of all, absolutely, the majority of people involved in running the women's game and driving the women's game were women, with a few key guys that were so important to us as well. So the committee room, specifically on the women's game, was majority women. and stepping into the other environments, the IRFU Committee, World Rugby Council. When I worked with the World Rugby, there were quite a high percentage of the staff were female, and the leadership of the unions and representatives were all male. Like before I and other colleagues were appointed to World Rugby Council in May 2018, World Rugby Council was all male. So the environment, it's different when you walk into a room where it's all male and you're the only female, or there's one or two female. The dynamic is different. The experience is different. The chatter, the chatter is different. And my experience of walking into the room is different. Like, I'm quite small, so I at the start I felt smaller, like that. And yeah, and there's times where, I might have, like, I experienced, like, I'm on my own here, like that. So yeah, it was a very different experience, and and at times challenging, not always, like sometimes you walk in that door, you get the biggest smiles, you get the biggest welcome. Those moments, I remember my first union committee meeting that I walked into, and I experienced the deliberate come over and say hello and welcome Sue. And it was like, it was amazing. There was one other woman on the union committee at that time, so like I was in the door and second, so there was a real effort to come and welcome you, and which is great and similar in World Rugby Council. And then between that, like, you're in, and it's, you get on with the business, what you're there for, and the dynamic can be challenging. But a lot of that is challenging over here where I am, like, me feeling small and then feeling smaller in the middle of this room, and and what you do about that is different when you're walking into one room versus the other. Like, for example, I watched the guys and how they would walk in and interact, and I found myself doing things like just standing taller before I walked in the door. So, like things like that. I walked in and put my hand out. My first action was to shake hands with people. Like, it might sound like small things, but small things made a big difference in stepping in there. And then you develop relationships. There's some I might have already known. You develop some key relationships. There's always a few people you can go to, as you get settled in. So
it sounds like it was a welcoming and inclusive environment, but of course, in our heads, sometimes we create something that's not there. Obviously your education, your experience in mental health and all of that helped you to be able to notice any maybe imposter thoughts and counteract them. Would that be true?
Yeah, it would. And I would say definitely a welcoming environment and a want to be inclusive. Like, there's a want. At the same time, that's not the experience when you're the only maybe female or one or two female, right? So I got the welcome and I got the want. And and then you're dealing with your own thoughts or what's, there for you. And you're right, it's exactly where that training, that experience helps. It's like, okay, so they're my thoughts, and am I engaging in those? Or, like, let's get myself here. Like, it's, it's that practice, like I do with people, interrupting the thought, catching the thought with the behavior. And that's where standing up straighter interrupts the behavior, which also interrupts the thought. Now you're in a new space, you're saying hello, you're in a conversation, like, it opens that up. So I suppose one of the things for me is just noticing the simple practices you can do that make such a difference in the moment. Because then once you're up and you're out there and you're started, you're in. It's a bit like you're hit the pitch, you're playing, and you go for it. And look, I had a really key learning moment in the whole thing as well, because I remember when I started with World Rugby in the position as women's development manager, and I'm here and I'm meeting representatives and unions and talking about the women's game and what they need to do. And Ciara, at the start, like, my approach was very much chase after them, go after them. Are you doing this? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I discovered that really wasn't effective. Surprise, surprise, everyone, right? And I look back now and I'm like going, oh my gosh, like, I like, they probably wanted to run away from me. It's like going, oh. And what I saw was, it's like they're like really great rugby people. And, they're doing a lot for the game, and we're here asking them to do something else. They weren't exactly getting millions to go with that to do it. So what opened up for me was, this is change management. Like, this is supporting them through a change, and quite a significant change. Like, rugby has been for over 100 years a male dominated game. It targets men, it targets boys, it's tackling, it's rough, it's all of that. So everything that people might have had about women and girls gets challenged. And on top of that, there are limited resources, and we're asking them to do more with what they have. So yeah, I really got connected with that, and like, it shifted to me having conversations, understanding what it's like for them. What do they see as possible? What's a win for them out of progressing the women and girls game, like having them connected with be it the Olympic dream, or having a national team, or the World Cup dream. And then it was with them fulfilling on that, and me supporting them with that, which was very different for me going after them, trying to get them to do something because they should do it because it's the right thing to do. And that made a huge difference, both for my experience in the job and progressing through it. And I'm pretty sure for them as well, because they, meetings would come up with gatherings with, because we've different opportunities for representatives to come together in World Rugby. And my experience with it, were coming to me going, Sue, did you hear? We've this now, we've under 18s now. We now have 6 teams. We now have, tell us, we want to do this. How do we do this? Can you come to us? Was another question. Can you come to us? Which is always great. You don't get to obviously go everywhere, but yeah, over that period, I traveled to about 35 countries to support their strategy development, program development. And some of those visits included bringing representatives together from a number of countries that were of similar sizes and within the regions and all of that. So yeah, incredible experience, Ciara. But the learning experience in terms of the approach, the engagement, what you're here to fulfill on, and how to approach it. So many learnings and shifts during that period was incredible.
Moving into a more collaborative style of leadership rather than, chasing people down, which of course has helped you through your own career and what you continued to do. But I want to talk to you a little bit about high performance, because obviously World Rugby is a high performing area, elite sport. So from you playing rugby, are you working as a psychiatric nurse, to where you finished up over the last couple of years? Has your idea of what high performance is changed?
Probably like the experience of, the process, the work, similar to that. It's definitely progressed over that period as well, Ciara. I think I would have probably have had a very simplified view of high performance, being high performance are the professional players that are full-time. You know, I probably would have had that, you know, that view. Like, I played club rugby very proudly, loved it. I captained our club, St. Mary's, for 2 seasons, and, you know, like, learned so much. And, you know, we really went for it. We performed. Now, I'm clear that wasn't high performance rugby, right? Um, and it was great. And getting, you know, as it progressed into the game, the experience of being in high performance environments. So, like, for me, high performance is much more now. It's like that culture, the environment, like what you're creating, what you're here to fulfill on, the team that you put in place around you, and then, you know, that culture, those values, how you're working together to fulfill on whatever that goal or whatever that result is that you're there for. So it's like you or the team get to create that, and get to say, you know, the level of performance it is, if you like. And there's lots of learnings for us in terms of creating that from the sporting environment. So when you see what you progress from a club level into a high performance team that really is high performance, fulfilling on, you know, whether it's a European Cup or a World Rugby or Olympic Games. So there's so many lessons and there's so many analogies we can take from that in creating our high performance in environment, be it in our work, in our business, you know, in our life. And yeah, we get to create that, or to whatever extent we want to.
So for some looking at you, maybe, you know, the career that you created, becoming captain of your rugby team, they might have seen that as high performance or being a high performer.
I think that's probably a really useful distinction, if you like. I certainly wouldn't see, you know, captain of a club team as high performance. Um, and certainly, like, when I look at, you know, life and what I've been up to and fulfilling on, yeah, absolutely, a high performer. Probably fits. And look, this is like in so many conversations we have. This is all words, language. It's like creating it in whatever way empowers you.
Yeah.
You know, like, if calling it high performance occurs as too distant for you, or that's not there, like, distinguishing yourself as, I'm a high performer and what I'm up to and what I'm fulfilling on, and you can bring all of those analogies and lessons into that empowers you. Fabulous. You know, go with that. Like, it really doesn't matter. They are only words. So it's what makes a difference for you that actually counts, to be honest. If that's not
Absolutely.
oversimplifying it, but that's that's what
I
makes a
think
difference
I
for
think
me.
that's very important, Sue, because it depends on the context. So what is required in order to get a positive result? And if you're not showing up, you know, to 99% of your ability in World Rugby, that's not going to get you the result. Whereas if you're showing up maybe 70% in the workplace or in your local team, that might just get you the result. So,
Yeah, and I think something else that's useful in this is, in being a high performer, you know, you're not you're not at your tip all of the time. Like, you're not. It's not designed that way. Like, high performance isn't designed that way. So if you, like, you look at, you can pick any sport. You can pick Olympic Games as every 4 years. You know, you look at competitions. They're designed with group matches leading into um quarterfinal, semis, and final. So you're not peaking all the time. We're not designed to peak all the time. Now, it's not very easy, but it's easier maybe to design the peaking around sport, because it's clear where you're maybe in training, where you're looking to work on certain areas of your game that you want to elevate, so that you're aiming to peak at the right time. So you're performing at the level required, maybe to qualify or to get your position. then you're going to work, you're progressing, you're elevating performance so that you qualify from your group or then into your knockout stages. So you have some clarity around where are you looking to hit so that you're performing at your peak at those points in time. In life, it's much more challenging. And I think we have expectations of ourselves that we should be, on it, buzzing, like performing at our peak all of the time. And like, we're not designed that way. I don't want to say it's not possible, like putting a lid on something, but it's like, if you look at sports people again, you're talking about how they take care of themselves. You talk about well-being, you talk about nutrition, you talk about fitness, you talk about your mindset, the psychological, like the emotional. There's so many, and it's all taken care of, and it's all designed out. So it's like when you look like when we look at, like, for people listening, it's like, actually, what have I in place and where am I expecting myself to perform? And we were speaking earlier, Ciara, you're talking about women who maybe have children, have a job, have maybe their involvement in a local club or like so many different things. So it's like, okay, so where do you need to be at your best? Where are you taking a breather? Where are you resting and recovering? And where do you need to peak at the different times? And yeah, given time for those conversations and just taking out the expectation that should be on it and
all of the
performing
time.
all the time.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And in what I see, it's that recovery piece, or even what I often say, it's the pre-recovery piece that is often missing. And what I mean by that is that switching off from the environment. So if we talk here in the context of a work environment, we're full on all day, and then we go home and maybe you have kids, maybe you have to visit parents or whatever your responsibilities are, but your mind is still turned on. So talk to me a bit about that recovery, or how do we go from that full on, mode to actually being able to recover our bodies. And for a lot of people, there isn't a huge amount of time to do that.
Yeah, I would probably highlight one thing here, and that is schedule it. And that's what very often is missing for people. Now, I say that, and I can be the worst at scheduling myself, right? So it's really interrupting something. But if you need to be at a meeting, it's in your diary, it's in your schedule. You have your reminders coming up for that, like our podcast today, Ciara, right? That's clearly there. So everything you have to do for those areas of life that you're involved in, or that you're up to, or that are important to you, they're in your diary, they're scheduled, you're clear. And this needs the same. So, like, after, when you look ahead for your week, you look ahead for your day. So where are the big moments? Where are the big meetings? Or where are the crunch points where you're really on it, so that you've your preparation into it? Do you look after yourself, lead into it, all of that? Then you're out there and you're doing it wherever that might be. And then it's looking, okay, so protect the time after to relax. Like when you're out, a bit like you're out in the pitch and you're giving it everything, the whistle goes, you kind of need that few moments to go, because you're still on edge, like the adrenaline and everything else is going. So it's giving some time to let that settle down, and then give yourself time to recover. And recovery can be different for everyone. And it's a case of you looking at really what works for you. But the first bit is give it protected time in your schedule, and treat it the same way as you did for the importing meetings or whatever else might be in your schedule, and then look and see, okay, well, what works for me? Like moments of relaxation, moments of meditation, moments of breathing, just settling everything back. It may be going for a walk, it may be doing something nice. It can be literally you, like whatever really works for you, but it's putting that in and then honoring it the same as the key thing you just delivered on.
Yeah, because in sport, those cycles are naturally built in. The managers and the coaches know all about recovery and what's necessary for the body. But in life, we don't have that. We don't have managers at work that tell us, after a busy period, okay, now you take it easy, maybe, take a few days off, work from home, relax. Yeah, we don't see that in the workplace.
No, and you're right. It doesn't happen by accident. It's all scheduled. If you look at any of the managers in their running of the team, like every moment around this is scheduled out. So the final whistle goes in a few minutes, like they're into ice baths, then they're into, like, they obviously shower, whatever, then it's nourishing themselves. So if you take those analogies, like, okay, so there's physical recovery, regardless what the peak performance is. It might be that you've been speaking, but there's still a physical recovery, right? There's stuff going on here physically. So there's physical recovery, there's emotional, there's the thinking, like there's all of that. It may include a debrief. And sometimes sports athletes have a hot debrief, so it's like that quick, what you want to say, like top level, get it done right. Now I can settle in. I can do a more detailed debrief after I've completed recovery, so that you're following those spaces, if you like, and that thinking, and you're designing it to suit you, and you can have some fun with it. Like,
Yeah.
regardless how it went, it's not assuming that, oh, you've just delivered something, or you've spoken, or you've had your meeting and it went brilliantly. Like, sometimes it goes brilliantly, sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you might need a little bit extra, taking care of yourself, because we can be
Yep.
pretty hard on ourselves when things don't go the way we think they should. And particularly if we see that there's something I didn't do as well as I could have. If I'd prepared that a bit better, sugar, why
Yeah.
didn't I say that there? We can be really, really hard on ourselves. So yeah, so it's
So a bit of
including.
reflection, that, daily even review or weekly review, just to give you that moment to debrief yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that may be with a mentor or coach or buddy, or, like, this is where, um, I'm mindful that people can be in all sorts of spaces and all up to all sorts of work in terms of who's listening in. So that's why it's really a great opportunity just to have a look at actually what would work for you, or if you're seeing that actually this whole area of afterwards and taking care of myself and recovery and, setting myself up then for next time is a missing for you. Like, that's really an action you can take now. Okay, look and go, what one or two things can I put in place from here? Or maybe what conversation can I have that would support me address this area? And it'd make a big difference.
So for people listening in, like if they don't have a coach or a manager that's able to manage this process for them, it is about taking responsibility. But I want to step over just for a moment to talk about football. I don't know if you're familiar with the Man City Pep Guardiola. Have you heard
Yes.
much about this guy? And apparently he's one of the best managers there ever was. And one of the reasons for that I heard explained was his ability to be both challenging and supportive, so that he recognizes what the moment requires or what the player requires in that moment. So there is this element of needing to, sometimes we need a push and sometimes we need the arm around the shoulder to encourage us to keep going. And I think that's something that personally I have learned to do. taken responsibility for my own performance, because I would have been somebody who pushes. Achievement, next goal, without ever stepping over into that other side and saying, hang on a minute, Ciara, you need some recovery time here. You need to look after yourself first. So is that something that you see in the environments that you've been working in over the last 10 or 20 years, that balance in the two approaches?
Oh, definitely, Ciara. And very often, like that, what you saw for yourself, that lesson, it can often come after something's happened. You know, someone suffers something or they get physically unwell, you know, or it's like things begin to fall down around you, you know, that experience. And it's like, okay, I need to do something here. Or a friend might say to you, you know, come on, Sue, like have a look here, right? So there can be moments like that. And you know, if you know, for people tuning in, if you're not at that moment, there's an opportunity to maybe use this so that you don't get to that moment. And brilliant if we give you that opportunity to today and just stop and go, okay, hold on a second, let me have a look here. It's the joy of having that coach or that mentor or someone that works with you. And if you have that, or if you don't, like it makes such a difference. And having that challenge where it's challenge, it's so like there's something to step up to here, you know, like no kidding. Or like, you know, what are you doing? You have 4 days of meetings back to back and everything else. Like crazy to think you're going to now drive 5 hours up the road on Friday and deliver something else, for example. So there are moments where we might not see it for ourselves. And then it's like, so who's your team? Who's around you that can challenge you in those moments where either you're, you know, it's like challenge so that you look after yourself, or
Yeah.
challenge because you know what? Like there, you can really blossom here and you're holding back, Ciara, right? Come on. Like sometimes we need a bit of that. We don't realize, we think we're playing full out, and actually we're holding on to something. And having that, like, look at, come on. And you see some amazing moments in coaching where, you know, on the side of the pitch, and then the player goes out there and it's electric and you get to experience that, whatever you're up to. It's amazing. And there's other moments where it's like, you know what? Some players get taken off the pitch, Ciara, and they're really like not happy that they've been taken off the pitch. But that's what was needed for them in the team at that time. But they wouldn't have seen it because they're right in it. So brilliant what you've said in terms of how you've developed yourself so that you can provide that for yourself maybe more effectively than before, where you can, you know, it's like you're interrupting the normal self-talk and it's deliberate self-talk. Okay, come on now, Ciara. Like, you know, there's a challenge there. And other times you're going, Ciara, what are you at? You're trying to do too much here. Let's just give yourself, you know, a breather here, some downtime. So what I say to people is that's not naturally wired in us. Like we're more likely to go, I need to do better, I need to do more, I'm not able, what's wrong with me? Oh my God. Like all of that chatter in our head, mine too. We're not wired to be effective in interrupting that, at least in those moments that we really need it. So it's having look for yourself. What have you in place? Who's in your corner? Some of my best mentors are mentors I sought after and thought, look, you can make a difference and support me with this, that, or the other. Every great athlete has a coach, has that like advocate manager looking after them. Like, who's that for you, or what have you in place? So it's a real opportunity to look and go, okay, what's my backroom team like?
Absolutely. And as you say, Sue, the scheduling, and that's one of my top productivity tips all the years since writing about productivity. It was the first thing that changed my life, and that was using my calendar. And it's still how I live my days, but not even so much as what you say, scheduling time for the downtime or the recovery time. Where it's worked for me is blocking times that I'm not available.
Yeah,
So
excellent.
my clients book time, my calendar, they have the link to my calendar to book a coaching session. But now I've learned that there are times where I'm not available, whereas previous my calendar would have been open from 8 a.m. till 7
Yeah.
p.m. So I've designed it now that I know I need the recovery time, or that I know I can't take on more than 3 clients in a day because it uses a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
it's
also
great to
knowing.
get clear on what works for you, where you're effective, and then blocking out that time, Ciara, because I think we all start there. I can see myself in that. Certainly when I was starting, I need to be available 24/7. I can't say no to anything, want to say yes to everything. And it's like going, even when I wasn't available, I'd be looking going, what can I do so I am available? You know, like all of that. And like some of that is the learning, but I think the key thing here that you're highlighting um, as well is that we need to take the learnings. Sometimes we learn and we find ourselves still doing what we've been doing. It's like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Here I go again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like catching that going, okay,
Yeah.
hold on a second now. What
Yeah.
can I do about it? Or maybe I need someone in my corner to have me really, you know, um, cause a shift in this.
Yeah, or one thing I described to a lot of my clients as well is that we will make the same mistake hundreds of times, but what happens is our level of awareness while making the mistake gets higher and higher and higher and more acute until we're able to shift and make that new pattern. And sometimes when we've created the new pattern, we still go back to the old pattern for a little while. So it's a gradual process of learning new behaviors and new patterns of thinking. So how much of performance or showing up in life is physical and are looking after our biology and our energy, and how much is psychological or mental?
I have no idea, Kira. Is the honest answer. Oh my word. I have no idea. But when I look, it's everything, isn't it though? Another answer to that is it is everything. It's like when, because I'm like, the number of times you wake up in the morning and you might go, oh my gosh, what have I ahead of me? Or there might be something you're facing, you'd rather curl up and back into bed. So like this, everything is around that mindset, if you like, that energy from that, like the spiritual side or emotional side, like it is, yeah, in lots of ways
A
it's
bit of
everything,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really is. And I know we refer a lot to athletes in this conversation, but if an athlete doesn't take care of themselves, like there is no performance. And that's so obvious to say, but in the moment of chasing after whatever we're doing, we can forget that. We think we can manage with a few hours less sleep because we need to get this done. We think we can manage without maybe the meditations or the mindfulness or the walk or whatever it might be. And look, we can get away with it for a while, and we can, right? We get in the zone, we can get away with it for a while. But it catches up on us.
Mm.
So I, my view, to be honest, is like everything. You got to look after yourself physically. Like it's all there, and it's all everything else as well. Like like
Yeah.
it's all that emotional mindset, spiritual, taking care of yourself, that being content in yourself, and having that experience that you're taken care of, like you're looked after. Again, if I compare it with the with the athlete, like there they are, like the physical side, medical, physio, all of that. They're nourished. They've the psychology, the emotional support, all of that. So they're right there in the experience of they're taken care of. Now, when you sit now today and just have that moment of, am I in the experience of being taken care of? And there's probably some of those boxes you can take. Then have a look on, well, what boxes am I not ticking? And maybe this is an opportunity to look at going, oh, what might I pop in or schedule there so that I'm in the experience of, yeah, I'm taken care of. That's probably how I would bring it all together and sum it up.
Very good, very good. Have you seen in the elite environments, let's say, do women experience pressure any differently? Or are there different components necessary for high performance with women?
Good question. I wouldn't say components are different. Like high performance, like as we, distinguish high performance is high performance, whether it's men or women, and those key components are relevant. And what I would say then is our experience and our expression and some of the specifics needed within those are definitely different. So, if you look at that physical health one, for example, like there's a lot more investment and research and resource in this area now around female health. Like we have a separate department within player welfare looking at female health and welfare, so that it's now being addressed much more effectively, say, from a World Rugby perspective, and that's certainly across our high performance unions as well. So when you look at actually what are the specific needs of women within those components, there absolutely are differences, and it's like understanding the difference and addressing them in a way that works makes the difference to fulfill on performance. Like difference isn't the problem. Like there's no problem. Like we are different. We want to celebrate that, right? Like we really want to celebrate that. We're not trying to turn anything around or different or whatever, but it's understanding the difference so that we can effectively support the individual to fulfill on performance is the thing. So when you look at that for yourself, or I mean, the health is an obvious example. Like there's a lot more work around period health and awareness and support around that, for example. Obviously through the women maybe dealing with pregnancy, and we have a lot more athletes coming back after having their children, which is incredible to experience and see as a real demonstration of what's possible. So then it's the expression and the experience can be different. And yeah, opening up for that, allowing for that. And then for us, then it's looking for ourselves. Okay, so what is it for me? And again, back into so that I'm taken care of. And what's definitely no different, like you hit that pitch and you're playing full out and it matters to you 120,000%. That is no different for men or women. And when we fulfill on supporting high performance development effectively, that's where it's different and individual to fulfill on those needs. Then the experience out there and going for it, like that is no different.
Can you just spell out for us, Sue? I suppose we assume everybody knows what are the pillars, let's say, or the components that make up a high performer. So, and you've mentioned a lot of them there, but if you just, what are the main things that people need to have that check on obviously sleep, nutrition. What are the other areas?
So I would probably start and build around, if you like, and picture yourself in the picture yourself in the middle. So we'll start with sleep. I mean, there's no performance without sleep, and it's not just sleep. It's preparing for sleep. It's getting that rest. It's having sleep that has you rested and recover. So there's a oh my gosh, there's so much about sleep, Ciara. It's a whole a whole other conversation we could have, and lots written on it. And it's a key element. So the key thing I would highlight here is it's not about going off crashing and getting to sleep. It's like ending your day, getting yourself set up and ready to rest and into sleep, and giving yourself sufficient time to sleep. So absolutely sleep, rest as one, and then you're looking at the physical side. So like that physical side is first of all like food, like, and water, like nourishing yourself effectively, like that variety, like what you need, and being hydrated. And that's one that I have to catch myself all the time. I need to set myself up. Otherwise I could be there for hours and I'm wondering what's wrong, and you're dehydrated. So that's right there with it. Then the physical piece is also like your body, your fitness, you're taken care of. Now that's different for everybody. For some it's going to the gym, for some it's doing some, whatever that physical workout might be at home or walks, but it's what have you in place to support your physical fitness so that you're fit for life, right? Not just the job you're doing, but that you're fit for life and that you're physically well. So like that health and well-being piece, like that you're having those needs met, whatever might be specific for you. So when we look at the athlete, it might be they twist an ankle, or, they deal with whatever maybe injuries or tolls or recovery they deal with. But all of us, so that physical health being taken care of. And then of course we've the mental pillar. So looking after our mental health. Now that's not just mindset. Like I focus on mindset in terms of working with people so that your mindset is supporting you in your performance. But this also includes your general mental health and well-being, how you are in yourself. Now we can all probably switch on and show up at a certain level where it's required. And maybe then we get home and it's just hard, it's struggle, or whatever it might be. So that mental health piece is broadly having your mental health looked after. And that mindset piece in terms of performance is then within that. But you need the base so that you can focus on mindset to go and perform. So you'll have within our sporting world, you'll have sports psychologists and performance coaches in there. So it's like whatever your version is to support you with that. And the emotional side of that. You also then you have your spirituality, you have your individual piece, like what that is for you, and having that expressed in a way that works for you and that you are taken care of. And everything then is built out from there, isn't it, Ciara? Like, you have those key pillars, like that you can see yourself and looked after. And you don't then ignore that part of having everything taken care of is who's close to you, your family, your social life. That's a key element. So it might not need it for performance, but we need our life to work so we can perform. So it's like family, friends, social, fun, not forgetting those elements as well.
Amazing. Listen, Sue, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and giving us your time. And we wish you the best of luck with all the great work that you're going to do.
Brilliant. Ciara, thank you. An absolute pleasure. Really, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening in, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And please remember to hit the follow button if you're not already following us. And please share this episode with a friend. And I will see you next week.